I would like to start off by asking some commonly asked questions to give everyone the confidence in using their beamer. Barry, can you explain what the numbers on the control unit mean?
Sharon, it's a good question, and it's a common question. The numbers 1 through 10 are really indicative of the strength of the beamer signal, 1 being the least intense and 10 being the most intense. It measures it in microteslas. That's how the signal's measured. So at level 1, it's 3.5 microtesla. And then at its strongest setting, at level 10, it is 35 microtesla.
Does it matter what number I use? Or what if I use the wrong number?
As to whether you really have to worry about choosing a wrong number, there really is no wrong number. It can't hurt you in any way because the Earth's magnetic field only measures at about 50 microtesla. So we're even under that. So which number you use is going to be as to what you want to really deal with. Thinking that level 1 is very light, but then maybe you want to get deeper into the body. So that signal will be intensified as you continue to go down in numbers. So just kind of think about what it is that you're dealing with and then go from there. So it's going to be really individualized. A person will need to know, where is it that I want to deal with? Well, obviously, if it's something that's kind of deep within our body, we might need a stronger signal. So what would that normally tell us? We need to go to a higher number. So stick with the basic plan, but if you have certain things you want to deal with, just kind of think about what you need to deal with and how will those numbers benefit you.
Barry, would it matter how often we use the beamer?
Well, that's another good question. A lot of people ask that because they just want to use their beamer. But the basic plan gives us twice a day. And of course, that's very good. But sometimes we feel we need it more, and that's okay too. But we want to remember what beamer does. It does cause stimulation to our systems. So once we stimulate them, we want to give them time to operate. So generally, it's recommended that we give approximately 4 hours between our sessions so that we can get the most benefit from our beamer.
On an occasion, the lights started blinking on the control unit and it started to beep. Can you tell me what this means?
Again, another good question. We can't feel an electromagnetic field, but the beamer is designed so that it tells us when it's not working properly. So when you see that flashing lights and the beeping sound, generally what you want to look for is a connection lost. So look at the back of your beamer, see if the power cord's plugged in properly, see if your mat is plugged in properly. Many times if the intensive applicator is unplugged in the middle of a session, that will happen. Or if you plug it in trying to use the intensive applicator halfway through a mat session, you're going to get the same reaction. And just a reminder here too, when you plug in your intensive applicator, make sure it's secure. And you can tell that it's working properly if the little light goes on underneath the I-AP. That will be the indicator showing that that's plugged in properly. So don't worry, if you hear some of these things going on, it generally means the beamer's trying to tell you it has to work properly. In addition to that, when you do securely plug in your beamer intensive applicator, sometimes it can be a little tight coming out. Just be cautious about how you pull it. Grab it right by the holder, not by the wire, and maybe twist a little so that it'll release.
Barry, why would I want to use the intensive applicator? And where would I put it?
Many times people have a particular area of concern. Therefore, that's why they want to use maybe their intensive applicator. They can use a direct application of the beamer signal to a specific area on their body. Now, it really doesn't matter where on your body because it's not going to hurt you. Just because it's an intensive applicator, there's no fear. So use it where you think you may need it at any given time. But take note, if you have your intensive applicator, look at it. One side of it says EMF out. It says that because it only comes out in one direction on the intensive applicator. So where it says EMF out, that is the area that you want to place on your body, and that will give you the most benefit. Now, when it comes to your beamer mat or your beamer coil cushion, those particular items will give you the signal from either side. So in that matter, it doesn't matter which side of the mat you're using, you're going to get the benefit.
Thank you, Barry. That was some very helpful information. In today's world, there's quite a concern about EMFs, commonly known as electrosmog. Nick, should we be concerned about the PEMFs that are coming from the beamer?
You're absolutely right, Sharon. Not everybody electromagnetic field is really good for us. we have to really separate that. We have electromagnetic fields coming out of an AC current, which is not really good because we call them electrosmog, and the AC current is created, designed by our humans and coming out of our walls. And the other one, the DC, that is the natural way of current, and we producing our electromagnetic field coming out of an DC. That means we switch the current from an AC to an DC.
Nick, since you've been involved with the Beamer for 10 years now and have had thousands of people use the Beamer, can you tell us if there's any situation or circumstance where we wouldn't want to use the Beamer?
Yes, there is one point we better shouldn't use the Beamer. When you get a fresh organ transplantation, then it is normal to keep down our immune system, that our body will not kick out the new organ. We know right now that the Beamer system improves your immune system really, really good, and that is not what we want at that point. So it's better to use not the Beamer when you get a fresh organ transplantation. But you can start using after 1.5 to 2 years after the medication for holding down the immune system is done. You don't have to be afraid to use the Beamer when you have any implants in your body, like a pacemaker, like a metal, whatever. And you don't have to be afraid to carry any credit cards in your pockets or whatever. The intensity of our magnetic field is only 35 microtesla. And as an example, a pacemaker can get an intensity 5,000 microtesla and more.
I can imagine, Nick, that over all the years that you've been in the Beamer business, you've learned some helpful tips. Could you please share some of them with us?
Thank you for that really good question, Sharon. And I have to share some really good tips for you when you're using the Beamer. So at first, think about what we are doing with the Beamer. We are activating microcirculation. And microcirculation is a very sensitive part in our body. So it is better not to take any substance before or after Beamer application, which can influence any part of your microcirculation. I'm talking about caffeine, I'm talking about nicotine, alcohol, stress, and so on, which makes your microcirculation not that good. As an example, please take care that you're always doing the Beamer application in a really quiet environment, because when I do that, your microcirculation will react very hard on that little shock, on that little stress. So please take care that you always enjoy the treatment in an absolutely quiet environment. Please don't work while during your Beamer treatment. Maybe at that time you get a frustrating email, and that is stress for your brain. And what happens with your microcirculation at that moment is not really good. So you unless the benefits from the Beamer treatment. Another tip is drink a big glass water 1 or half an hour before Beamer application and after. And the next tip is treat that water with Beamer. That means put it on the mat or the cushion with level 10 and drink a whole glass before and after.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that very helpful information.